Hello and welcome to the Pawn Pro podcast. I am super duper honored. I have Natalee on with us today. She's from Gold Cup Pawn Shop in Texas. Hello, Natalee. Welcome.
Hi, Tally. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I love your backdrop.
Thank you very much. Very casual. I just surround myself with these things all the time.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Let's just dive right in to how you got started in the industry.
Perfect. So I technically am a second generation pawnbroker, but my mom has only been in the industry for 7 years. So we're both newbies in the pawn industry. And my mom bought the store from another lady, which we loved. It was Gold Cup Pawn has always been a woman-owned pawn shop since it's
amazing. I didn't know that.
Literally,
Cool.
Super unusual because it was founded in the 80s, especially so. And so we just love that. And so continuing that woman-owned pawn shop legacy was super cool. My mom had an estate sale background. You might know that about her. She has an estate sale company also, antiques appraiser, all of that crazy stuff. So we've always been in the pre-owned industry anyways. And she would drag us to pawn shops when we were kids, always just to see stuff. But I was always terrified, if I'm being honest. And even when my mom purchased the pawn shop, I was so anxious. I was terrified. I was like, what are we doing? This is dangerous. This is risky business that we're doing. And obviously, now I know so much better. That was just my bias, that the whole world has. We all know this. But yeah, my mom took it over. I actually was working as a fashion buyer at a high-end department store. And I was kind of ready for a change. And my mom was like, well, I always have a job with my mom, of course, right? Good old nepotism.
Yeah. Nepo babies, here we are.
Pawn shop Nepo babies here. But so I gave it a shot. I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And again, I was so scared every single day. For a couple months, I was just always anxious. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? This is the coolest job ever. And really the big moment for me that we had was we had a customer come in. Obviously I love fashion. Handbags are where my true passion lies. And a customer came in and she brought 40 Louis Vuitton bags in box with 20 Chanel bags. And we have a picture of me with the boxes stacked up and they're taller than me. And so I was like, I think I like pawn shops. I think I really like
I like this. This is going to be just fine.
I think I'm going to be a good fit. And so, yeah, I've been with the pawn shop ever since. And so my mom bought it 7 years ago and I've been working here for about 5. A little bit more.
So that's amazing. Yeah. One of the most I think the biggest transformation, at least that I've ever seen of somebody kind of not taking the reins because your mom is still present, but really kind of compounding on what our parents have done before us is when you started, I think it was during COVID, the social selling stuff. And I really want to focus on that because a few people in podcasts before and a few guests have talked about this in a way that they want to get involved in it or they want to learn more about it. And anytime somebody says social selling, I'm always like, Natalee's the girl. So talk to us about, was that driven by COVID? And then how did you get into it? And then we can talk about the evolution of it to today.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first came to the pawn shop, I was writing tickets. I was just a normal pawnbroker, literally writing tickets, doing all that. And of course, COVID happened and we were so terrified. And we're a small store. We only have one shop. We're in a small town. We're not a big production. We're still, we call it the mom shop because my dad's not in the pawn shop industry. So we're not a mom and pop. We're just a mom shop.
A mom shop.
We're a mom shop. And so of course, we were able to be open, as all the other pawn shops know. You could still stay open during COVID, but we're not letting customers in. We were curbside only. Sales were non-existent. And so we were getting even more anxious, other than scared of what is COVID, what's happening. We were like, are we going to keep our doors open? Are we going to, what do we do? What literally do you do? And so we're in Kerrville, Texas, and in Kerrville, a jeweler started 70 years ago called James Avery, and that is one of my bread and butter sales. It's very niche. It's highly, highly collectible in our area, and I get in 100 to 200 pieces a week. So we're we were well known before, but now it's even a different thing. But so I said, you know what, Mom, I'm on all of these Facebook groups because I would post when we would get James Avery anyways. So I'm on these Facebook groups. Let me just do a live, like I'm just going to scan everything we have. I bet they are going to go crazy. Like, well, we're going to give a discount. Like, let's just get some money going. And right around that time is when the first drop of stimulus checks came. And so I didn't plan that, but like it was really good timing on my part. So I literally set up a card table in our pawn shop because remember it's closed, no one can come in. I'm wearing leggings, no makeup, like really not my best appearance on that. I was like, we're comfy or no one can come in. And we very quickly, I outsold my normal month sales very, very quickly. And that turned into what was called Gold Cup Live, which we now call Studio 2 Luxury. So I just planned on doing a quick, like, let's sell some stuff. I had no idea what was going to happen. My very first show had over 200 people watching. They went absolutely crazy. And they're like, when's your next show? And I was like, oh, I don't know. My mom's like, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the next show. I love your mom.
Like literally, she was like, get your ass back out there. And that is how Gold Cup Live was born. And from there, because we had all the goods, we had luxury handbags, we had fine jewelry, we had Southwestern jewelry, we had men's jewelry. The only thing I didn't sell on there was guitars, tools, and guns. And so I quickly cleaned out our cases. The world opened back up. I hired a full staff. We moved out of my mom's pawn shop. We outgrew it very quickly. Purchased a clothing store. Then I had my baby, and so I took a back seat after that. But now we're back. We're back. I took 18 months off, which I'm so grateful for that time. But my mom is like, let's go, girl. Like,
yeah, back at it. Get back out here. We need you.
We need you. Yeah. So now we're back. And it's been better than ever now. I mean, really, I'm kicking my own ass right now.
That's amazing. And so from Facebook, what kind of tools did you use and what are you using now?
You mean like for the actual
live? For the selling.
I just literally, so what I very, very first did was straight up Facebook Live. And I mean, my mom was next to me writing, oh, Tally wants the heart charm. Okay, what's your email, Tally? I'm going to send you a PayPal invoice at the end. I mean, literally, it was so rudimentary. So from that, we went to a software called Comment Sold, which I loved at the time. I loved them very much at that time. And Egal actually put me in touch with them, which was it was very pivotal for our business at that time. So then we went to Comment Sold, which gave us our own app, our own website. I didn't have to invoice anybody. It made it really, really amazing. But now we have switched to Whatnot, and I did over 6 figures in the last 4 weeks on Whatnot.
That's amazing. So tell us about how you're doing that. Is it the same item mix that you're currently doing? How do you build a following there? Like, how would somebody get started doing that?
Yeah, so I guess I should backtrack a little bit. I need to be like, I'm so all over the place with this. To backtrack a little bit, what I did immediately from my Facebook was I made my own Facebook group. And I talked about this before, I think I talked about it at TAP, was that I took the word pawn out of it because we know this. I had my own stigma around it when we purchased the store. And so that honestly helped me reach new customers. And so our Gold Cup pawn shop, I made Gold Cup Live, and so my group was Gold Cup Live with Natalee. And I have about 4,500 members still in it. I still post on it, and I just made it a private group, and I would just say, here's what's coming up for sale, only available on my live show. And so then they poured in. And so that has been really, really helpful. And I have talked about that little tip, like, just drop the word pawn and enter the word luxury or jewelry or live even, or whatever. VIP group. And so I always recommend that as a big, just starting off. And still tie it, like Gold Cup Pawn is an admin on my group still, so there is still ties. And I never say I'm not a pawn shop. I never, of course we're not ashamed of that. We're super proud of who we are. But definitely for the outside looking in, that's like my number one tip is if you're able to, just drop the word pawn just for that. but then they'll figure it out, and then it's like, oh wow, this pawn shop's amazing. Oh, it's not. What do you mean it's not all stolen bicycles and
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
you know?
just the impact that that show probably has on changing the stigma of people in it, that these items come from a pawn shop,
Mhm.
is really impactful. I think that that's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, so that's important to us because, especially, I just keep repeating it, that I had my own reservations, my own, like, what are you doing? This is terrifying. We're going to
Hmm.
get robbed. We're going to get mugged right here
Hmm.
in our
Hmm.
a town of
Yeah.
20,000 people, you
Yeah.
know? Like, and so, yeah, that's been really important to me is to change people's minds. And
Yeah.
I wish I had been keeping a tally of it, of people that say, oh my God, I've never been in a pawn shop before, but I came in because I've seen you. I want to see your things. And so that's been really, really fun. And so, but anyways, the Facebook group was really, really important. And so I just maintained that following. I created a brand trust with them. They know what to expect. And of course, I put myself out there majorly. I'm going live all the time, daily. And at the peak of Gold Cup Live, I was going live twice a day, 6 days a week. And so I really built this trust with them. And I think that was a big part of it. And so moving on, I have now switched to Whatnot. And I think a huge, huge part of my success has been I brought my following with me. They
Hmm.
followed me to Whatnot. And so on Whatnot, we've been 5 or 6 weeks only using it. And I have about 4,600 followers already on that. So
Amazing.
they have followed me. And I'm not trying to toot my horn, but they followed me. And so I've built that brand trust through a Facebook group, basically. And so if I was telling somebody who wants to go live, and I literally, if anybody wants to ask me, like DM me, I love this. I'm like a huge proponent. Like, put yourself out there, go live. It could change your life and the trajectory of your store. It really could. And so, I lost my train of thought because like, I'll talk to you
Well,
about
let me ask you a few questions. And the first one is, were you always comfortable in front of the camera doing these? How did you kind of get comfortable, and how has that changed after just doing them so frequently?
Right. So if any of y'all know my mom, Rachel Fitch, then you know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's a hoot and a half, truly. And so
Truly.
she's a hoot.
Yep.
She's so funny. My mom's a Leo, if that like makes like, oh, full circle.
That resonates. Yeah.
That totally tracks on that. So I've never been a shy person. Certainly not. But the first live, I wasn't prepared. I was just like, I'm just gonna show this stuff. I almost didn't think about it. We were also in a sense of desperation, though, at
Yeah.
that point. And so I just kind of did it. As it goes on, though, it just becomes like, it's just part of what I do. And so
Yeah.
I don't think about it, but I always do say, because I'm trying to get my husband to do some shows with me. And so when I just tell him, like, you're talking to a screen, because it's not even like this where I see your face.
Yeah.
I'm literally just talking to myself. Like,
Yeah.
and you can get comments, but like, it's not the same feeling to me as like public speaking. That
Totally.
makes you
I
crazy.
totally agree with that.
Same.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I always say is, so what? Like, who cares what someone thinks of you? You are, putting money back into your store. You're getting new customers. This is your job. Like, just who cares? Like, is someone going to think that you look silly? And I've done like silly things before. I've made mistakes, or I've, maybe someone asked me a question I didn't have the answer to, or I've had like a ring break while I'm showing, things like that. A necklace, this beads just fall. Oh, whoops. Okay. Like, well, don't worry. They made more than one. Like, let's keep going.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So really, you just have to take the jump and do it.
Yeah.
And it's like anything. It just gets so much easier as time goes, but you don't see anybody. And so that it really, really helps, I think.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Like I'm on meetings on a computer all day long, 8 hours a day. I get invited to speak at a conference, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I have to speak in front of people, like actual people in a room. It's way more intimidating.
It is.
And it's funny. I think sometimes when you're not thinking about things and you just kind of jump into something without like the full, like head gymnastics of it all, is when you can start trying things that are new. Like when you're not so in fear of something.
Yes.
So that makes sense to me that
Yeah,
that
and I
was.
will say that I had actually, my very, very, very first live show, I had planned to do it a week before I actually did it. And so I kept having to, I did have to kind of psych myself up a little bit. But we were like, we have to do this. Like, you have to try something new.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're in very different times. But yeah, just jump, just do it. What's the worst? Well, the worst case scenario is you do one and you don't sell anything. Okay, well, you tried, you know.
Yeah, totally. And so on the current app, if somebody
Yeah.
wants to follow you, how would they go about finding you if they
So
need
I'm
inspiration?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm on Whatnot, which is really cool, and they've spoken and been at NPA before, and so there's other pawn shops on there. This is not a new app to the
Yeah.
pawn industry. I'm not the first. I was the first pawn shop on Comment Sold, but I was
Yeah.
not the first pawn person on Whatnot. So I'm Studio 2 Luxury now, and it's STUDIOTWO Luxury. And you'll find me. It'll say Natalee Peppitt. And yeah,
Amazing.
we
And
sell.
what kinds of things are you selling right now?
So I do a different show every day of the week. I say every day. I don't have a show today. I don't have one tomorrow, but the rest of the week I have shows. So I do the same things that I sold on Facebook Live. We do designer handbags, obviously, which I could not get by without. It's my most favorite day of the week to do designer handbags. We still do our James Avery jewelry, absolute bread and butter.
I
But then
see
we do
those all the
Southwestern.
time.
Yeah. Oh, that is like I don't have to do any. That's almost no work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is our absolute bread and butter, and the collectors are there, like they are ready to rock. So we
Amazing.
also do the Southwestern jewelry, the Native American turquoise, some of like the Taxco pieces. Then we have a fine jewelry night, and we're now introducing a casual luxury show. So we'll do a show with like Coach bags, Michael Kors, which are still designer, but just not on the same, you know, as it's not Chanel or
Yeah.
Hermes or so.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a new demographic probably.
Yes, well, you know what? It actually mixes really well with my James Avery crowd. I find that
Mm-hmm.
my James Avery collectors are not my designer handbag collectors, uh,
Okay.
which is just it's just they don't mix as well. But like I can definitely sell them Coach and Dooney and Burke, and they spend their money on jewelry 100% because they will buy a silver charm for $500, but they
Right.
wouldn't buy a Chanel bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but and that's what's been great about Whatnot is instead of my previous app where it was just me, you had to download my app, you had to click on
Mm,
intentionally to watch me. I got 200 new followers last night on my show. And so that's
that's
been really fun.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like not a marketplace, but it's more of a marketplace where you can find more than one creator and you can probably browse through different people that are
Yes,
having different shows at different times. So it's going to
exactly.
drive
It's
new
amazing.
traffic and new people.
Yeah, I've been describing it as if eBay and Instagram had a baby.
Yeah.
Because it's all live selling. That's the whole app. And there are marketplace items, but the live shows are really, really
Yeah.
good at that. But yeah, it's really cool. And you I've made a couple of friends on there that are like also sellers, and it's a very supportive community. And they like encourage their followers to follow you, and it's very much has
Cool.
that like there's enough for all of us. You know what I mean? It's very community driven, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
I love that. And how are you preparing for holiday?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I've already scheduled all my shows out through January.
Yeah.
And we have been known for, 'cause I'm a Christmas freak. I'm just gonna like start that off. Like I'm like big Christmas lover, like hardcore. I would have my tree up yesterday if my husband would allow it. And so with Gold Cup Live, we do Natty Claus. And so I literally dress up as Mrs. Claus and we do crazy, crazy giveaways. So we're already preparing for that. We always give away a brand new designer bag that I will go and purchase from, Louis Vuitton or Gucci. Like, here I am. I bought it for you. I didn't get it wholesale. I'm laying out the cash for it. And we always do big giveaways like that. People love them. It doesn't have to be brand new. If somebody else wants to do that idea, you get bags in your store. Just give it away. Like, people love it. So right now I am in the process of just constantly sourcing more because right now that is my number one. Definitely on Whatnot, you have to have bulk. You have to have bulk and you have to have bulk coming. And so that has been my biggest trying to prepare for the holidays right now is just trying to get, because I need like 200 of each show per week. So
Right. So
yeah.
how do you buy?
So most of it comes through the pawn shop, of course.
Yeah.
So we get in a lot of the pawn shop, and I am now like the number one client of the pawn shop. And
Good.
so whenever my mom gets it in, a Studio 2 Luxury is a Bravo customer, and they
Yes.
charge me, and I write them a check. Literally, so I'm like going up the ranks pretty quickly here. I'm the Bravo. I'm gonna be like the number one Bravo girl. So that's the most of it. I do network with other pawn shops as well. And they, goods that aren't selling for them, I'm getting them in. And then, of course, everyone's gets handbags from Japan. That's not a big secret. So I'm also getting some handbags from Japan. And then our jewelry, we also have a really great relationship with our refiner. And so he holds pieces for me too if he thinks it's sellable goods. And then my mom also has an estate sale company. And so I also shop the
Yeah,
estate.
you've got all of the channels. Let's
Yes.
talk about building like relationships with other pawn shops or with refiners because I think that that's really smart and I think getting creative about this stuff just doesn't walk through my door, right? Like I think there's a lot of people in the industry that would support getting new product into something like this. So how did you start building that? Where did you meet these people? How would somebody
Sure.
start?
So, the other pawn shops that I work with, I've met at TAP, of course. There are other Texas pawn shops. I don't know if they want me to mention this, so I'm just not going to say. I'm not trying to gatekeep, but I just don't know if
Yeah.
they want me to mention who they are. But I met them at TAP, and so I just built really great relationships with them. And just shooting a text of like, hey, I have a customer that's desperate for a Neverfull. Do you have one? I don't have one right now. Can we both make a little money? Let's do it. Or even me saying, hey, this stuff is just sitting. I don't want to discount it. Let's trade out. And it's really just opening. I ask everyone. Anyone at TAP will say, Natalee has been asking me for James Avery jewelry. Like
Yeah.
I'm not shy. I'm not shy. What are you gonna say? No. Okay. I'm in my same position that I was in before.
Yeah.
And so our same refiner. My mom had a gold buying shop. For years before she had the pawn shop. So we've known our refiner since I was in like the 8th grade. So we've known him for a really long time. And we have a really great story where my mom has the antiques background and she told our refiner one day, like, have you ever heard of William Spratling? Which is if you're not familiar, he is a Mexico artist that did like sterling jewelry, and his sterling necklaces will go for $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000. I mean, just highly, highly, highly collectible, mid-century. And so, anyway, she had told the refiner, she was like, "Hey, do you ever get things like this?" And he was like, "I don't know. He's kind of a gruff guy. He's not like a nice person." Okay, he's very like harsh. He's like, I don't know. I don't know. And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a book and it's got all these different hallmarks in it. Can you let me know if you ever get anything in? And just kind of like, I'm just going to bring you the book, whatever. The next week he got in a piece of William Spratling and my mom purchased it from him. And so, lots of speaking into existence, but just asking, just like straight up asking and like doing what you say you're going to do. Like if someone's going to send me bags, I'm going to pay you right now. Like, let's get, just building
Right.
rapport and the networking. But I always meet, our refiner was our local refiner, but with the other pawn shops, it's just networking at the conventions, which are, just absolutely, you can't put a price on that. Literally. They're just such valuable relationships that you meet at these conventions.
I love that. So many of our guests are like presidents of associations or of like, involved in putting on conventions. And, I think from like a legislative and from a lobbying and from a community kind of perspective, trade shows are really important. But I think that you've been able to like unlock this different way of networking within a trade show where you're like building relationships and it's a win-win for everybody that you're working with. And I love that. I love the innovation behind that.
Yeah, it's fun. It just feels natural. It just feels like the natural way. Like, because of course I can get handbags and I do get handbags from Japan. But I've never met them in person.
Yeah.
And where would I want my money to go? To someone that I know and I care about and like can put a, I know them. Like, of
Yeah.
course you wanna do that first. It's like how you try to shop small at Christmas. It's the same thing. Like, I want to put
Yeah.
my money with my fellow pawnbrokers,
Yeah.
first, of
I
course.
love that.
Yeah.
So besides removing pawn from like a Facebook name or from the name of your live selling show, what would be your number one piece of advice for somebody that's interested in starting social selling?
Number one is to do what you say you're going to do 1000%, and to build that trust with new customers. Because on Facebook, it is going to pop up in people's feeds. They can, if you're starting with Facebook, right? Which is the easiest thing to start with. They're going to tag their friends. They're going to do things like that. So just do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to go live 3 times a week, go live 3 times a week, no matter what. You have to be consistent, and you absolutely will have a dud of a show. I've had countless shows where I don't sell anything at all. Or, oh man, I did a 3-hour show and only sold, $300. Like, that happens. And you just have to move forward on it. And you just have to do all of it with care. And you have to treat the customer that is buying a no-name generic charm for $10 the same as the customer that's buying a $5,000 Chanel bag. Because they are your same customer. They're on the same playing field. There's still a customer of you. And so I think that's been really important. And another thing that Gold Cup Live did was, for me, I feel like it gave customers access to things they thought that they didn't. And so we had a lot of clients that were pawn clients. They would only ever loan. Well, they started realizing, I can put this charm on layaway, or I can come in, and now I'm a client of that. I shop at that same place where they sell Birkins and Chanel bags and, $25,000 Riviera necklaces. And so I think being consistent and just level the playing field for your customers, because the $25,000 Riviera client will come in, and so will the $5 charm client, and they are equally as valuable to you.
I love that. That is so powerful. I am so grateful you came on. I'm sure there's going to be a million people that want to know more. If you
Yes, I'm
want to
happy.
connect with Natalee, go find her. She's on Facebook. She's super easy to get in touch with. I am grateful that you took some time away from your baby and to come on the podcast, especially amidst holiday planning. I can imagine how crazy that is. So
It
thank
is
you so much for
truly my
being here.
pleasure. Thank you.
Have an awesome day.
You too.